Hello, hello. It is okay, well, actually, it is day 174, but I'm going to do this as a combination episode for days 170, which was October 9th, 171, the 10th, 172, the 11th, 173, the 12th, and for 174, which is October 13th, 2024. And the reason that I'm doing 5 days in one is because I got behind. I really, I didn't crash and burn after my talk, but I was very tired. I was very exhausted. And it seemed to be not just as like a crash after a hype, right? So we all get that. We get like that adrenaline from like the exciting event, and then we get that crash afterwards. But it was more than that. It was everything else that ended up going on. In the days that followed, it was electrons on the other side. So if you've heard me in previous episodes talk about the electrons, which are circling around those protons and neutrons that are where we want to get to with our manifestations, I talk about, and this was originally from a video that Jess put on YouTube, but it was the electrons hit us first, those negatives, the things that we perceive as negative, and they are things that are unaligned, falling away. They are things coming to light that need to be addressed, and all of that, so that we are actually energetically aligned with our manifestations and are ready to receive them. So I hit that point of manifestation, of standing on the stage, of manifesting that dream that I've had for a really long time. The first step on the way to the really big dream of speaking on stage with Mel Robbins. And I was super proud of that. That was amazing. I dealt with a lot of electrons prior. And I am really proud of myself for making it through those electrons and allowing that manifestation to come in. But it wasn't easy. And I guess this isn't the first time I've realized it, but the first time that I've realized it on this level is that there's a second set of electrons on the other side of it. It's a circle around it, right? So no matter which direction you're coming at it from, it's like electrons, protons, neutrons, and then more electrons. And it's a matter of that second set of electrons is like, okay, now you manifested it. Do you want to keep it? Do you want to, and not that I could lose the fact that I've been on stage, but do you want to keep that vibration? Do you want to stay there? Or are you going to drop back down now? And I think I did pretty well with not dropping back down. But with everything that came in, I was extra tired. So what ended up happening was I let my reflections at the end of the day slip, and I got several days behind. And it's amazing how quickly we can break a habit that we've been building for so long. So I got out of the habit of it a little bit, and then I've realized today that I'm at 5 days without recording an episode, and I was like, okay. And I could try to go back and manually, or not manually, but individually break them all down and do separate episodes. But I felt like because I'm not reflecting the day of, and I've had this once or twice before when I've recorded a couple in one day or something like that, where I'm trying to reflect on one that was more than a day ago, right? And I'm going, what the hell happened that day? I can't remember. So a lot of, it's not that the lessons are lost, it's just that I'm not able to like instantly draw upon them as I do when I reflect on it that day. So I mean, big lesson right there in how powerful and how potent it is to reflect on our day each day and on our week each week and so on, because we can really connect in with what just happened and anchor it in so that we're learning those lessons really deeply. And I think that's been a really big piece of why I've made such progress in the suspending disbelief challenge in the first, you guys, we're getting close to the halfway mark. Okay. Like this is day 170 to 174, and 182, 183 is the halfway mark. So we're getting really close, and this is already an incredible achievement. So I will say, like, I feel like I've learned a lot as far as regulating my vibration goes, which is so interesting and not exactly what I thought was going to be the point of this, but it's fantastic. It's amazing. Um, so yeah, so really quick, I will try to really quickly just to see if I can remember what happened on each of these days. Um, and this is why I didn't want to have like 5 different 1 to 3 minute episodes. So I decided to just do it all in one. Um, so October 9th, which was day 170, was the day after my talk, and it was rough. I feel like I've almost blocked it out of my mind. I know that it was rough. I know that everything seemed to go wrong. Um, I was just extra exhausted. I had hurt my knee, which I think I mentioned in the episode about the day of my talk. I smashed my knee at the end of the day afterwards when I got home. And that was just the beginning of like those electrons coming in, that second set around that one manifestation. So I smashed my knee and I woke up the next day feeling like I just gotten beat up with a sledgehammer. I was sore, I was exhausted, I was miserable. And um I tried not I wasn't necessarily miserable, but I was just so sore and so exhausted. And I had a lot of fires to put out all of a sudden with work, with business stuff, because I had been off for that couple of days and completely disconnected. And even the couple of days before that, on the week, like over the weekend before the Monday, Tuesday event, I had been much less connected online just to prepare myself for the event. So it was like, yeah, I was putting out fires in business. I was catching up on things. Everything was like urgent and do it right now. And that's not a way that I like to run my business. So it always feels extra stressful. And yet I also deliver really well under pressure. So like it's not necessarily the worst thing. It's just it's not a state that I want to consistently be in. I also had like there were some issues with my son with school, and um it just sort of across the board, right? There was just sort of all of these things across the board. And if I remember correctly, it was even like rainy and gray and cloudy that day, just made, added to the general feeling of misery and lowness. Um, and then on Thursday, October 10th, which was day 171, this day was pretty good. It was, a catch up day for me, and I started Reiki training. So I am taking Holy Fire Reiki with Kelly Femrite, who is my biz bestie. And I'm super excited to be doing that. I've always wanted to do Reiki, and Holy Fire Reiki just feels extra, extra aligned for me individually. So I was really excited to start that. I will totally admit that I fell asleep during the meditation, like all of these kinds of things, because I just had this buildup of exhaustion. And, but I did find it very restorative, and it was great. Then Friday, the 11th of October, day 172, it was just an insane day. It was very fast paced. It was call after call after call after call. And in between, if there was time gaps between calls, which there wasn't in all of them, if there was though, there were fires. there were personal life fires. There were I needed to order groceries, and it was like getting to the point of being desperate. And I had like 5 minutes here and 2 minutes there. It was like, I just need to get this order in so that we have food for supper. And it was top of my mind for way too long that day, because I didn't have a single chunk of time in which I could sit and just plug in all the groceries that I needed, look at my fridge, see what I needed. Um, so that was frustrating. I also had it was an implementation call or like an implementation / support call for my Offer Evolution Circle, which was scheduled. And on this call, instead of anything that was planned, every single one of us, myself included, as well as all of the clients on the call, just really needed to talk, really needed to let some things off of our chest, needed to receive some just being, held energetically by other women, and having that healing experience of being in that kind of a safe space. And so I allowed that to just be what it was. Um, and it was very worth it, even though, like, what I ended up doing was I rescheduled. I added another call to my calendar, which I was like, I'm not adding any more calls to my calendar, but I did do that, just because that was what was most needed at that moment. But I still needed to achieve the outcomes of that planned call. So I did that just once, just to, have that space given. One of the ladies has lives in Florida and was had just gone through the traumas of 2 hurricanes in a week. And, like, it was just a lot. There was a lot collectively, on that call. And so the space needed to be held, the space needed to be shared, and the healing needed to happen. And that's just what I allowed to transpire. And again, always trusting that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. That's exactly what needed to happen that day. Um, so let me think. Next was day 173, October 12th. And this is a Saturday. This is my kids were home. After all of the stuff that I had going on during the week with, especially with my son with school, um, he got into a lot of trouble this week. He was having a lot of problems, and um, I was putting out fires in that sense. And I was also there was a lot of tension between he and I, um, at home in the evenings and stuff like that. Not really, really awful, but just, things weren't as happy and lighthearted and everything as I would love them to be. So on Saturday, there was a lot more slowing down and connecting, and spending that time so that we can restore sort of that tense energy back into that loving, flowy energy that I want to have in my home and with my kids. So I spent a good deal of time on that. My mom had picked up my oldest the night before, so it was just me and the younger two, and then I ended up taking them to their dad's, and just sort of um, unwinding, I think, a lot that night. So that was um, the biggest thing there. And then finally, day 174, October 13th, which was a Sunday. So no kids. It was just me and the animals. I had a couple of calls booked, which I have, one was preset and scheduled before I changed my schedule to not have any calls happen on Sundays and have it just be my down day. And the other was the rescheduled event from Friday, which I decided, because I was going to have, it's Thanksgiving weekend here. The ex was going to have the younger kids for Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And my mom was going to have my oldest for at least Sunday, Monday. I'm not sure about Tuesday yet, but I knew that I was going to have like that solid window of time to myself. And I wanted to get those calls out of the way first, and then have my restoring time all the way until my kids arrived. So I booked it on that day. And it was, or like on the Sunday, and it was a really good choice. Like, it worked very well. The call was effective. We got through everything that we needed to get through. I did my regular healing session and all of that I do, sending out healing energetically out into the world. And just like really restored my energy. But at the same time, I also hit, one of the things that I had brought up on the Friday call with those other ladies that I had been dealing with, particularly related to my son, had, one of the other ladies had received a message about it. And so she shared it with me, and it triggered one synchronicity to another synchronicity to another sign to another synchronicity. And it was just all of a sudden, for like several hours, in the afternoon and evening, I was receiving signs and synchronicities and messages and all of this stuff, and getting so much clarity, until the point where I finally was like, okay, you guys, enough. And I literally just had to put up a wall. I put on a show and I binged. I was like, nope, I'm turning off now. That's enough healing. That's enough understanding. That's enough for one day. Stop it. And I think just because it had been such a long stretch of time where I've been so over busy, it was like, oh, good, you're nice and open and ready to receive right now. So my guides were just dumping all of this information on me. And it was like, okay, yeah, I'm here for it. I need to catch up in a sense. But at the same time, I was like, I'm not going to let myself burn out from this. I'm not going to, I've done it in the past where I've done a deep dive into that healing and gone too far with it and ended up in a dark night of the soul for such a long stretch of time. And what I have learned is that our healing doesn't need to be like that. It can be in small pieces, small portions alongside our regular life. And it doesn't have to knock us on our ass for days and weeks at a time. And I basically just was like, I'm not going to allow that. It's not acceptable to me at this time to get knocked on my ass. So I've received a lot. I have a list of things that I need to go through and take shamanic journeys for and do cord cuttings and all of these different things. And that's great. And I'm really excited to get those things done. And now I'm done for today. And my energy is at its limit. And we're going to stop before I cross that line. And I was really proud of myself for doing that. Sometimes it can feel, especially when we're working with spirit, it can feel like, oh, I need to like submit to the will of the divine in that sense, right? Like I'm just going to let it go until it goes. But the thing is that our guides are only able to act when we give them permission. We are the ones allowing it. So if we allow it to go so far that it tears our lives apart, it will. And they're not doing that to hurt us. They're like, okay, you want more? Yeah, you're still open to more. Yep. Okay, you're still good. Yep. And they keep going. And you have to say no. So I've learned to say no, even when it comes to spiritual healing stuff. And that to me is massive. It's huge. So very proud of myself for that. And I really did. I was like, enough. I turned on the TV. I binged. I let myself shut right off a little bit and just, that reset can be really important too. And I have learned to utilize binge watching TV as a resource instead of as like, as a default or an escape. So it wasn't like, I don't want to do the healing work. I'm going to escape and hide and pretend that it doesn't exist. It was like, okay, I've done enough. Now it's time to turn that off. And if I don't put something else in the way, it will keep coming. So I had to sort of put something else in the way to block it. But lots of clarity came through and it was really, really amazing. And I actually do look forward to doing that healing work, sporadically, in small pieces. So, yeah, all in all, it was a very like all over the map kind of a week. And that's why it ended up being 5 days that I was just like, I didn't even stop for a minute before bed to go, oh, I need to reflect on my day and do my suspending disbelief episode. So, giving myself all the grace around that and just, this is the replacement for that. And this will catch me up so that I'm at today and I can, start again with the next day's episode and go back to dailies. So yeah, I hope that there was something helpful in there for you. There was sort of a little bit of everything. And, maybe it wasn't quite as much of a deep dive as I normally would do on a single day, but, hopefully it was enough to still be a little bit eye-opening or a little bit inspirational or whatever it is that you needed today. But that is what I have for you today. So I will talk to you all tomorrow.